Hello everyone, Colin Cadet here for WoodWorkWeb. Today we're going to build one of these. Well, not exactly one of these. We're going to build a little bit bigger version of this. And now of course I'm working without plans again. I could not find any plans anywhere on the internet, and there were very few pictures of them as well. So I'm just kind of going by guesswork, so we may have to make some alterations as we go along. But for the main support rails, I'm going to cut those at 2 inches wide. I've already preset the saw to 2 inches wide, and I've set the blade to just about half a tooth above the material. I've already squared off the other end. Now I'm just going to cut them to length. The next thing I'm going to do is drill holes through both of these to mount the wheels, because I need the positioning of the wheels to figure out the rest of the length of this. But here's the wheels, and I picked these up at a swap meter garage sale somewhere. I think they were like 50 cents each. I didn't even know what I was going to use them for at the time, but they were such nice little wheels. Now a lot of people are going to say, why don't you just use screws to put those through? But I've learned the hard way that screws act like a file inside of these things. So if I were to make these out of wood, which I consider doing, I'm not making them out of wood because if wood gets wet, it expands, of course, and I don't want it to bind. So that's why I've decided on using plastic for this. And these screws work like a file in here. If you keep spinning this, it actually wears away the inside. So I'm going to use bolts that are nice and smooth, and they're not going to wear, so this will get lots of use, and I won't have to worry about the middle of it wearing away. I want to cut the slats for the very top holding tray area, and I'm going to take this 3/4 inch and split it right down the middle. So I've installed my 7 1/4 inch circular saw blade, and I've had to take the blade guard off and put the riving knife on because I couldn't get the fence close enough. Now I squared these all off at one end and lined them all up. I'm going to gang cut them all now at exactly the same length. Well, here's our sort of working, our working stand here. What I've done, I've cut a couple of pieces that I need now to start giving this some stability, and I want to work from the inside out. So I need a known distance in here. So I've cut these at 17.5 inches, and I'm going to fasten them on the inside here and another one on the outside here, and that'll start giving us some real good stability to work with. And then I'll be able to start working on the tray here. So there's not a whole lot left to do here. Okay, that glue will hold that. We'll do the same on the bottom. So let's take stock of exactly where I am right now. Now, I ended up we put some pins through this, but I ended up using some screws and countersinking them because I needed to use this and I didn't want it to move around. So we're doing that. Now the next thing we're making is the tray, and because I want the tray to overhang about as much, I've gone ahead and made all of the top here, and I want it to overhang by, this is just a piece of offcut on here and just a spare one down here, so I want it to overhang a little bit on each side and on the back. Now, just check that. While that upper tray is drying, what we need to do now is we have the outboard wheels, which I've got this one reversed, not that that matters. Let's turn that around anyway. That's the way that should be there. Now what we need to do now is now that we know this area in here is square, and that's why I wanted to start off with this and work out. Now we want to do the same thing on the outside. We want to make it square as well, or at least we want to make it square to what the inside is, because it's going to move. So we're going to use, I'm just using some veneers, two thin strips of veneers, and that's giving me enough room because I'm going to want to put, you can see where the hole is here, where the bolt is going through. I'm going to want to put a washer in there so that it doesn't bind. You can't put these two together without having something in between like a washer so that they'll move a little bit more easily. Now I'm going to do the same with these outside braces as I did with the inside, and that is pre-drill them and put some screws in to hold them fast so that we can keep on working on this. Before I go and do some painting, I found this nice piece of dowel. I don't know what I had this for, but I think it'll make a really nice handle instead of using square pieces here. So I'm going to drill a couple of holes, and we'll put that right through there, and I'll cut this off at the proper length now that we know what that is, and we'll glue that in. The doweling is a little on the loose side, so what I'm going to do is take it out and cut a slot, just cut a slot in it. And then I've got some shim material here. I'm just going to cut one of those off, or two of them off, and then I'll just use that to shim it up and it'll expand that. Okay, there's the first slot, and I've just put the wedge in to start it. There, that should, oh, that's nice and stiff now. Okay, and we'll just cut that off. There we go. Sand that down. Do the same on the other side. As it turns out, I need to do a countersink, and I'm going to do it with a Forstner bit where the wheels go through, because this needs to be flush with the top here. Now, when you're using a Forstner bit, they work fine without a pilot hole, but when there's a big hole like that, watch what happens. they move around that hole. A much better way of doing that is to make a pilot hole out of a piece of scrap, put it over top of your hole, and it doesn't have to be dead accurate. Put a clamp on it, and you can make a perfect pilot hole. There, not much better. Our construction of all our pieces is already done. I'm going to go outside now. I'm going to sand and put a coat of paint on these. I'm not going to make you sit through all of that. So when we come back, we'll be painted and ready for a final assembly. Well, after all the painting, now we get to put it together if I can remember how it goes. All right, there's where the wheels go in. And here's the bolt. We're going to put a washer on there and a nut right at the end. And not going to snug it up, but just back it off a little bit so that'll spin. That through there. And I think we're just now where the tray is going to sit, I'm going to attach it with this hinge so that it pivots, and I've already pre-drilled the holes, so I just need to put those back in and attach them down. All right, it's all together. Do you want to see what it looks like? How's that? Our little patio serving trolley with color matching wheels. But here's the best part. Check this out. When you're finished at the end of the season, these little pins come out, and I'm going to show you a detail of this in a minute. Now, I wanted to show you one of the things that I'm not in love with on this little patio server. The tray is connected at the back. It's hinged at the front, but at the back it's just connected with these two bolts. And I've just used wing nuts on there so that it's easy to put together and take apart. I tried a variety of clips on there where the tray would just kind of come and sit on it. And when I tried it, when I put it to use, to do a test on it, the first thing that somebody did was try and lift this off, and if it was full of food or drink, of course it would have all spilled. So it made me think that this has to be fastened firmly, and maybe one of you will come up with a better idea than this. I ran out of ideas. I tried for 2 days a variety of different things, and I wasn't happy with anything. And this is quick and easy, it works, but it's not as elegant as I'd like to see. So maybe one of you will be able to comment and come up with a better idea for that. Concludes our video on making the little patio server, complete with matching wheels. Now, if you're going to email me or comment for plans, I do not have plans for this. This entire thing was made on the fly. I didn't work from plans. It was in my head. What you saw on the board before I started was what I worked with, and I just worked from there. What I will do is, if you go to the article on WoodWorkWeb, I will put a parts list on there, and anybody who's interested can make this up from the parts. I'll give you all of the dimensions that I use to put it together, and then you can modify it if you want to make it bigger or smaller or whatever you want to do. The link for that will be in the description field, as it is with almost every video that I post. There's an associated article on WoodWorkWeb that gives a lot of the details, and often it gives links throughout the internet that you can use to help you find bits of parts and tools and that sort of thing. So I'm Colin Cadet for WoodWorkWeb. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please do that. Like us on Facebook. That's very important to us. Follow us on Twitter and stay tuned because we've got a lot more builds coming your way.